The African savanna stretches endlessly, a tapestry of golden grasslands and scattered acacia trees beneath a sky that shifts from blazing blue to brooding grey. Here, the air is thick with anticipation, and every blade of grass, every distant thundercloud, signals the start of something extraordinary. Each year, as if summoned by an ancient rhythm, the savanna awakens to the thunder of hooves. The great migration begins, a spectacle of life on the move, where the horizon itself seems to ripple with the movement of countless animals. Picture a living river, not of water, but of muscle and sinew, flowing across the plains. The herds surge forward, their bodies pressed close, each animal guided by instinct, and the subtle cues of those around them. More than 1 million wildebeest form the backbone of this procession, their shaggy heads bobbing in unison, eyes wide and alert, nostrils flaring as they scent the wind for danger and opportunity. Alongside them, hundreds of thousands of zebras, their black and white stripes flickering in the sunlight, and countless gazelles, nimble and watchful, join the march. Each species brings its own energy, its own patterns of movement, yet all are bound by the same urgent need. Their journey is not one of leisure. Every step is driven by hunger and thirst, a relentless search for fresh, green grass that springs up after the rains, and for the shimmering pools of water that sustain life. At watering holes, the herds gather in uneasy truce, lowering their heads to drink, muscles tense and ears flicking at every sound. The water is precious, and every sip is a victory in the struggle to survive. The migration is a colossal loop, a journey that spans nearly 2,000 kilometers. From above, the herds stretch in endless lines, winding across the land like veins of life, pulsing through the savanna. Each animal moves with purpose, driven by an ancient memory etched into their bones. The path is fraught with hardship, yet the urge to continue is irresistible, a testament to the will to survive. The rains are the silent conductor of this grand procession. Dark clouds gather, and the first drops fall, drumming softly on the earth. The animals lift their heads, sensing the change, their bodies attuned to the rhythm of the weather. With the rains, the savanna transforms. Parched earth gives way to a lush, emerald carpet. The air fills with the scent of new growth, and the animals press forward, eager to feast on the bounty that follows the storms. The herds move in a timeless pattern, following the rains from one grazing ground to the next. This cycle has played out for thousands of years, a living thread woven through the fabric of the savanna. The numbers are staggering. If the animals were to line up, their column would stretch for 40 kilometers, a living, breathing city on the move, each individual a vital part of the whole. Together they face obstacles, rocky outcrops, tangled thickets and sudden gullies. Yet, side by side, they press on, their movements synchronized by a shared determination. It is a parade unlike any other, a grand display of unity and resilience, where every hoofbeat echoes the promise of survival. The journey begins in the southern Serengeti, where the rains have painted the plains in vibrant greens. Here the herds gather, restless and eager, sensing the call to move. The land is transformed into a temporary paradise, dotted with wildflowers and thick grass. Calves and foals born into this abundance take their first tentative steps, learning to run with the herd. For a brief moment, the savanna is a place of plenty. The animals graze in peace, their bellies full, their coats glossy in the sun. But the abundance is fleeting. As the sun climbs higher and the days grow longer, the grass withers and the waterholes shrink to muddy puddles. Dust hangs in the air, shimmering in the heat. The animals grow restless, their movements more urgent as the promise of food fades. It is this change that stirs the herds to action. They gather in dense clusters, muscles tensed, ready to begin the long trek northward. The signal to move is subtle, a shift in the wind, a distant rumble of thunder, the scent of rain on the breeze. The animals respond as one, driven by an ancient calling that pulses through the herd. The scale of the migration is breathtaking. From the air, the herds form vast, undulating patterns, their numbers defying imagination. It is not just a few groups, but an entire population, wildebeest, zebra, gazelle, moving together in a living tide that sweeps across the land. The ground shakes beneath the pounding of hooves. Dust swirls in the air, and the sound of thousands of animals moving as one fills the savanna with a wild primal music. The earth trembles, and the air is alive with the calls of the herd, a symphony of grunts, brays, and bleats, each note a testament to the struggle and hope that drives them onward. The journey is fraught with peril. Rocky ground, tangled brush, and sudden ravines test the strength and resolve of every animal. Each step is a challenge. The youngest stumble, the old and weak fall behind, but the herd presses on, driven by the promise of survival. In the tall grass, eyes gleam. Predators wait, silent and patient, watching for any sign of weakness. The herds move with caution, every sense alert to the dangers that lurk unseen. Rivers, swollen by the rains, present another trial. The animals must cross, braving strong currents and hidden dangers beneath the surface. Yet, united by a single, unwavering purpose, the herds surge forward. They follow the reins, chasing the promise of green grass and life itself, their journey a living epic written across the wild heart of Africa. The great journey does not begin with a march, but with a miracle. As the first rays of sunlight spill across the endless grasslands, the savanna awakens to a symphony of life, each note a testament to nature's resilience and wonder. In the early months of the year, from December to March, the southern Serengeti and the nearby Ndutu Plains are transformed into a vast nursery. Here, the air is thick with anticipation, and the land itself seems to pulse with the promise of new beginnings. This is the calving season. Across the open plains, hundreds of thousands of wildebeest mothers pause in their migration, their bodies heavy with the next generation. In the gentle hush of dawn, new life emerges, calves blinking in the golden light, still slick from birth, their first breaths mingling with the cool morning air. The timing is no accident. The short rains have swept across the land, coaxing a lush carpet of grass from the earth. Each blade glistens with dew, offering nourishment and hope to the mothers and their newborns. The low grass is a gift, rich in nutrients for the mothers, and short enough to reveal the slightest movement of lurking danger. Every mother stands vigilant, her senses sharpened, her body a living shield for her fragile calf. The wildebeest have evolved a remarkable strategy for this moment. Instinct draws them together, forming tight circles around their young, a living fortress against the ever-present threat of predators. In a breathtaking display of unity, the mothers give birth almost simultaneously, flooding the plains with a tidal wave of newborn calves. This phenomenon, known as synchronous birthing, is nature's way of tipping the scales in favor of survival. The sheer number of calves born in such a brief window is staggering. For the predators that prowl these lands, it is a feast beyond imagination. Yet even they are overwhelmed by the abundance. Lions, hyenas, and cheetahs watch from the shadows, their eyes fixed on the vulnerable young. The savanna is a place of constant tension, where every heartbeat is a gamble between life and death. Some calves are lost in the chaos, snatched by swift predators, but the vast majority survive, shielded by the safety of numbers. The predators, though skilled, cannot hope to claim them all. This is predator swamping, a strategy honed by evolution, where the odds are stacked in favor of the herd. In this swirling mass of life, survival is a matter of mathematics, and the future of the species is secured by sheer abundance. For each newborn calf, the first moments are a desperate struggle. Legs trembling, it fights to rise, driven by an ancient instinct that whispers of danger and the need to move. Weighing over 18 kilograms at birth, the calf is awkward and unsteady, its world a blur of sound and scent. Yet it is already attuned to the presence of its mother, her scent a beacon in the vastness. Every second counts. The calf must stand within minutes, its muscles quivering with the effort. The urgency is absolute. Immobility here means certain death. The mother is relentless, nudging and urging her calf, her low calls a lifeline. She knows that only the strong and the swift will survive the trials of the savannah. Miraculously, within hours, the calf is not only standing but running, its first unsteady steps quickly giving way to a bounding gait. The will to survive is written in every movement. Nourished by its mother's rich milk, the calf grows stronger with each passing day. Every mouthful is a building block, forging the strength and stamina needed for the epic journey ahead. In just 3 short months, this young life must be ready to travel nearly 2,000 kilometers, following the ancient rhythms of migration that have shaped the savannah for millennia. At its mother's side, the calf learns the subtle language of the herd, the flick of an ear, the warning snort, the gentle nudge that signals safety or danger. It learns to recognize her unique call, a sound that cuts through the chaos and guides it back to safety, no matter how large the herd grows. The calf watches the adults mimicking their grazing, learning which grasses to eat and how to sense the subtle shift in the wind that signals approaching danger. The plains are a living classroom where every lesson is vital and the price of failure is high. Here the rules are simple: learn quickly or be left behind. The young must master the art of movement, keeping pace with the ever-shifting herd, their legs growing stronger with every sprint, their senses sharpening with every close call. This early period is a crucible, forging resilience, awareness, and the unbreakable bond between mother and calf. On these wild plains, the miracle of new life is not just a beginning, it is a daily triumph against the odds, a testament to the enduring spirit of the savannah. The Great Migration is not just a story about wildebeest, it is a living epic, a tale of 3 remarkable travelers whose destinies are woven together by the endless rhythm of the African plains. Each year, as the rains sweep across the savannah, these 3 species, zebra, wildebeest and Thompson's gazelle, embark on a journey of survival and renewal. Their odyssey is fraught with challenges: parched earth, swollen rivers, and the ever-present shadow of predators lurking in the tall grass. Yet, together, they form a living tapestry, each thread vital to the whole. At the forefront of this grand procession stride the zebras, their black and white stripes rippling like waves against the golden grass. They are the scouts, the pioneers, venturing into the unknown. With every step they face the uncertainty of new lands, patches of grass that may be lush or barren, rivers that may be gentle or raging. Their powerful jaws and unique digestive systems allow them to tackle the toughest, driest grasses, transforming what is inedible for others into sustenance. As they graze, they trample the tall stems, clearing a path through the wilderness. The zebra's journey is one of resilience and leadership, their vigilance ever alert to the dangers that stalk the herd. In the wake of the zebras come the wildebeest, the heart and soul of the migration. Their numbers are vast, a living river of shaggy bodies and curved horns stretching to the horizon. The wildebeest are tireless travelers, driven by an ancient instinct to follow the rains and the promise of green grass. Their journey is perilous, crossing crocodile-infested rivers, braving storms, and enduring exhaustion. Yet they press on, their hooves pounding the earth in unison. Thanks to the zebras' pioneering efforts, the wildebeest find the grass trimmed and tender, perfect for their selective grazing. Their mouths, designed for precision, seek out the most nutritious blades, fueling their relentless march. The wildebeest's journey is one of endurance and unity, their collective strength a shield against the dangers of the wild. Last to arrive are the Thompson's gazelles, delicate and swift, their coats gleaming in the sunlight. They are the opportunists, the final act in this natural symphony. By the time they reach a new pasture, the ground has been trampled and the taller grasses grazed down, but for the gazelles, this is a blessing. The disturbance exposes the freshest, most succulent shoots and herbs, hidden treasures that only their nimble mouths can reach. Their journey is one of agility and caution, weaving through the larger herds, ever watchful for danger. The gazelle's light touch ensures that even the smallest plants are not wasted, and their presence completes the cycle of renewal on the savanna. Together, these three travelers form a living engine that powers the migration. Each has carved out a unique niche, a role shaped by countless generations of adaptation. Their movements are guided by the pulse of the land, the scent of rain on the wind, the promise of new growth, the memory of ancient trails. The zebra, bold and resourceful, is the lawnmower, clearing the way for all who follow. The wildebeest, steadfast and determined, is the selective eater, thriving on the bounty revealed by the zebra's passage. And the gazelle, graceful and discerning, is the careful nibbler, savouring the tenderest shoots left behind. In this unspoken alliance, each species shapes the land and is shaped by it. Their journeys are intertwined, their fates inseparable. Through drought and abundance, peril and peace, they move as one, an ever-shifting mosaic of life. The savanna flourishes beneath their hooves, and the story of the migration continues, written anew with every step they take. As April and May arrive, a profound transformation sweeps across the southern Serengeti. The air grows heavy with anticipation, and the land itself seems to hold its breath. The nourishing rains fade away, leaving the sun to scorch the earth. The once verdant plains begin to wither, their emerald hues surrendering to the relentless advance of gold and brown. The grasses, which only weeks before had been lush and abundant, now stand brittle and dry. Dust rises with every step, and the promise of water grows ever more distant. Waterholes once teeming with life shrink to muddy puddles and then vanish altogether. This is the silent signal that echoes across the savanna. The great herds sense the change. They know, as their ancestors did, that it is time to move on. Within each wildebeest, a deep, ancient restlessness stirs. Heads lift, nostrils flare, and the herd grows tense, alert to the subtle cues of the shifting season. It is time to move north toward the distant promise of green pastures in Kenya's Masai Mara, hundreds of miles away. The journey is not a simple exodus, but a carefully orchestrated movement honed by generations of survival. The migration begins with a surge, a wave of bodies flowing across the plains. Wildebeest, zebras and gazelles join forces, their fates intertwined in this epic quest for sustenance. The herds move as one, forming a living river that snakes across the savanna. Each animal finds its place in the column, guided by instinct and the subtle signals of its neighbours. Their pace quickens as the urgency of the journey takes hold. The strongest lead, forging a path through the dust, while the young and weary are shielded within the mass. Calves only months old keep close to their mothers, learning the rhythm of migration. The herd covers up to 15 kilometers in a single day, a feat of endurance for both the old and the very young. At first, the movement is a massive, unified front, a wall of life advancing across the grasslands. This unity is their greatest defense. By clustering tightly, the wildebeest create a living shield. The sheer number of bodies confuses and deters would-be predators, making it difficult for any one animal to be singled out. Lions and hyenas watch from the shadows, their eyes fixed on the moving mass. But to attack such a dense, powerful herd is to risk injury or failure. The herd's unity forms a bubble of relative safety, a fortress of hooves and horns in a land where danger is never far away. As the journey continues, the herds press northward, threading through the western corridor of the Serengeti. The landscape shifts, rivers and woodlands break up the endless grass. Here, the superherd begins to change. The pressure on the land grows too great, and the formation breaks apart. The grass is grazed down to the roots, and the earth is trampled bare. The wildebeest must adapt, seeking new strategies to survive. The herd splinters into smaller groups, each fanning out across the plains in search of food. This dispersal is a calculated risk, trading safety for sustenance. The once massive column now resembles a scattering army, each unit moving with purpose, yet always aware of the dangers that lurk nearby. In these smaller clusters, the wildebeest can find enough grass to sustain them, but the cost is increased vulnerability. Isolated groups become tempting targets for predators who prowl the edges of the migration, waiting for an opportunity. A small herd is easier to ambush, and the safety and numbers effect is diminished. Every decision, where to graze, when to move, becomes a matter of life and death. The journey becomes a delicate dance, a constant balancing act between finding enough food and avoiding the ever-present threat of predation. The destination remains distant. Over 800 kilometers of unforgiving terrain lie between the herds and the green promise of the Masai Mara. The migration is a relentless test of endurance. Muscles ache, hooves crack, and exhaustion weighs heavily on every animal. Yet, driven by instinct and necessity, the wildebeest press on. They cross sun-scorched plains, navigate rocky outcrops, and ford treacherous rivers, each obstacle a new challenge to overcome. They are guided by the scent of distant rain carried on the wind, and by an invisible map etched deep within their minds, a legacy passed down through countless generations. Each day is a battle against thirst and hunger, a relentless march forward, fueled by the desperate need for survival. This northward journey is among the most grueling legs of the migration, a crucible that tests the strength, strategy, and resilience of every animal. Only the most resourceful and determined will reach the lush grasslands that await beyond the horizon. As the endless tide of wildebeest and zebras presses northward, the landscape shifts. They approach the Grumeti, a region both feared and fateful, where the very air seems to thicken with anticipation. Here, the journey transforms from a test of endurance into a crucible of survival. The herds sense it. The ground beneath their hooves grows uncertain. The scent of water mingles with the musk of predators, and every shadow could spell disaster. The Grumeti River carves a winding scar through the Savanna, its banks slick with mud, and its channels deceptively deep. For the migrating herds, this is no ordinary river. It's a barrier that demands everything they have left. Yet, the river's swirling currents are only the beginning. Beneath the surface, ancient shapes drift, silent, patient, and deadly. Along the banks, dense woodlands and tangled thickets form a living maze. Here, the grass grows tall enough to swallow a lion whole, and every rustle could be the whisper of a hunter. The Grumeti becomes a gauntlet in the truest sense, a corridor of peril where every step is shadowed by the threat of tooth and claw. The herds bunch tightly, eyes wide, nostrils flaring, as they move through this living minefield. Fatigue gnaws at their limbs. Some stumble, legs trembling from the miles behind and the terror ahead. The weak and the young lag behind, their vulnerability a silent beacon to the predators that stalk the margins. In the shadows, lions wait. Their golden eyes track every movement, every falter. They are the silent sovereigns of this domain, their patience as deep as the river itself. These predators know the migration as intimately as the herds do. They have learned the rhythm of the crossing, the places where the desperate and the unwary are most likely to fall behind. With every step, the lions slip through the undergrowth, using the broken terrain and thick brush as cover. Their bodies are low, muscles coiled, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Camouflaged in the tall grass, a pride lies in ambush. They communicate with subtle glances and flicks of their tails, coordinating their attack with chilling precision. When a wildebeest strays, perhaps a calf or an adult slowed by exhaustion, the pride surges forward. The chase is swift, brutal, and often ends in silence, save for the pounding of hooves and the triumphant growls of the hunters. For the herds, every thicket is a potential ambush, every shadow a possible threat. The river, so close, is both a promise and a peril. The tension is electric. The wildebeest crowd the riverbank, their bodies pressed together, eyes darting from the water to the grass, searching for danger in every direction. In the water, another threat lurks, the Nile crocodile. These ancient reptiles are the silent sentinels of the Grumeti, their armored bodies nearly invisible beneath the muddy surface. Some of these crocodiles are giants, older than many migrations past. They wait, motionless, for the moment when the river will boil with life. The herds gather, the bravest inching forward, hooves sinking into the mud. Beneath the surface, crocodile eyes break the water, watching, calculating. Suddenly the water erupts. A crocodile explodes from the depths, jaws wide, snatching a wildebeest in a spray of mud and terror. The river becomes a battleground, the struggle fierce and primal. Panic surges through the herd. With a thunder of hooves they plunge into the river, driven by fear and the unstoppable force of the migration behind them. The water churns with bodies, wildebeest swimming, struggling, some swept away by the current, others fighting to keep their heads above water as crocodiles close in. There is no turning back. The only way is forward, through the gauntlet of predators and the river's treacherous embrace. On the far bank, the promise of green pastures beckons. The survivors fix their gaze on the lush grass, hope burning brighter than fear. The crossing is a spectacle of chaos and courage, predators and prey locked in a desperate contest, the outcome uncertain until the very last moment. In these moments the Savanna's law is written in struggle. Life and death are decided in the blink of an eye, the strong and the lucky forging ahead, the fallen claimed by the river or the waiting jaws. Many will not see the far bank. Some fall to the lions in the thickets, others to the crocodiles in the river's depths. Their journey ends here, claimed by the wild. But for those who make it, battered and breathless, the ordeal is a badge of survival. They emerge from the river, dripping and exhausted, but alive. Their numbers surge onward, a living river flowing across the Savanna. The Grumeti Gauntlet is behind them, but the journey continues, driven by hunger, hope, and the unbreakable will to survive. After surviving the Grumeti, the herds press onward, their instincts guiding them ever northward toward the Mara River, a formidable barrier that has become legend on the Savanna. The air is thick with anticipation, every hoofbeat echoing the tension of what lies ahead. This is, without a doubt, the most famous and most dramatic obstacle of the entire Great Migration. The Mara is not just a river, it is a living, shifting gauntlet, a test of every animal's resolve and cunning. The river is wider, deeper, and faster than the Grumeti, its currents swirling with hidden power. The water churns relentlessly, concealing dangers beneath its muddy surface, and the far bank seems impossibly distant. The banks themselves are treacherous, steep, slick with mud, and scarred by the desperate scrabbling of hooves. Each step is a gamble, and many animals lose their footing, tumbling back into the swirling water. Lurking in the murky depths are the ancient Nile crocodiles, their eyes just breaking the surface. They wait in silence, patient and motionless, knowing that soon the river will be filled with prey. The crossing of the Mara River is the ultimate test of courage and desperation, a climax in this epic story of survival. Here, every instinct is sharpened, every sense on high alert. The tension before a crossing is immense. Wildebeest and zebras gather at the water's edge, their bodies pressed together, muscles taut, eyes wide with fear and anticipation. For days, the herds may build along the banks, their numbers swelling until the land itself seems to tremble beneath their weight. The pressure mounts, a living wall of bodies and restless energy. They pace back and forth, the bravest nudging forward only to retreat, the herd's collective anxiety palpable in every movement. Each animal waits for a sign, a moment of certainty. The air is thick with dust, kicked up by thousands of hooves, and the air vibrates with the low, urgent calls of the wildebeest, a chorus of uncertainty and longing. They can smell the water, sense the promise of lush grass on the far side, but the river's secrets are not lost on them. Danger is everywhere, unseen but deeply felt. No single animal wants to be the first to leap. The herd hesitates, each individual hoping another will take the risk, knowing that the first to enter the water is often the first to fall. It is a standoff between instinct and fear, a moment of collective indecision where thousands of lives hang in the balance. The herd's unity is both a shield and a prison. Then, suddenly, the spell is broken. A surge ripples through the herd, and the first brave souls leap forward, driven by hunger, hope, or the relentless push from behind. Sometimes it is a single courageous individual who leads the way. Other times, the sheer pressure of the herd forces the front runners over the edge, tumbling into the torrent below. Whatever the trigger, the result is a chaotic explosion of movement. The herd surges forward as one, a living wave crashing into the river. Thousands of wildebeest and zebras plunge into the churning water, their bodies pressed together, each animal fighting for space and breath in the swirling current. It is every animal for itself, yet there is a strange, desperate teamwork at play. The strongest push forward, breaking the current, while the weaker and the young are shielded in the center of the herd. They swim with all their might, heads held high above the water, eyes wide with panic and determination. Calves cling to their mothers' sides, and the herd's momentum carries them onward. The river shows no mercy. The current can sweep away the weak and the young, while crocodiles strike with terrifying speed, singling out stragglers and the vulnerable. It is a scene of utter pandemonium, water churned to froth, bodies colliding, the cries of the desperate echoing across the river. Many do not make it. The river claims its victims swiftly, and the crossing becomes a graveyard for the unlucky and the frail. The aftermath is grim. Bones and remains litter the banks, a stark reminder of the price paid for survival. Scavengers gather, drawn by the scent of loss. But for those who reach the far bank, scrambling up the muddy slopes, there is a moment of triumph. Exhausted, soaked, but alive, they find safety and the promise of green pastures. They have conquered the river, and the herd regroups, their numbers thinned, but their spirit unbroken. This perilous crossing is a critical filter, weeding out the weak and ensuring that only the strongest and most resourceful continue the journey. The herd's unity, their instinct to move as one, is both their greatest strength and their greatest risk. It is a brutal but necessary part of the cycle of life on the savanna. Predators watch from afar, ever alert for opportunity as the survivors press on. The courage, teamwork, and desperate will to survive shown at the Mara River are a powerful testament to the resilience of these animals. Against all odds, they move forward, driven by the ancient rhythm of migration, their endless pilgrimage a story of hope, loss, and the unbreakable bond of the herd. As dawn breaks over the endless savanna, a silent tension hangs in the golden air. The great migration is not just a journey for the herds, it is a gauntlet, shadowed every step by a caste of formidable hunters, each with their own ancient strategies honed by generations of survival. These predators are the heartbeat of the savanna, their presence shaping the very rhythm of life. For them, the migration is a moving banquet, but every hunt is a test of skill, patience, and instinct. Among the most powerful are the lions, regal and commanding, their amber eyes scanning the horizon for the faintest sign of weakness in the herds. Living in tightly knit prides, lions are masters of cooperation. Each member has a role. Some circle wide to drive the herd. Others lie in wait, hidden by the tall grass, their bodies pressed low, muscles coiled like springs. When the moment comes, the pride explodes into action. They surge forward as one, targeting the largest and most vulnerable. Adult wildebeest, zebras, even buffalo. The chase is a blur of dust and pounding hooves, the air thick with the scent of adrenaline and fear. Ambush is their art. Lions use the land itself, thickets, termite mounds, and the wavering mirage of heat to mask their approach. They wait, motionless, for the herd to draw near, then strike with breathtaking speed and power. Their raw strength and seamless teamwork make them a constant looming threat. Yet for every successful hunt, there are many failed attempts, prey that escape by a hair's breadth, the herd's alarm calls echoing across the plains. In the open grasslands, another hunter reigns, the cheetah, a living embodiment of speed and grace. With a body built for acceleration, the cheetah is the savanna's swiftest shadow. Unlike the lions, cheetahs hunt alone or in small family groups. They rely on keen eyesight, scanning the plains for the flicker of movement. A young gazelle, a distracted foal. When the time is right, the cheetah unleashes its astonishing speed, accelerating from a standstill to over 100 kilometers per hour in mere seconds. The chase is a blur, a test of reflexes and stamina. Their preferred targets are the swift and nimble, Thompson's gazelles, young wildebeest and zebra foals. The prey, sensing danger, zigzags desperately, using sharp turns to evade the cheetah's pursuit. Cheetahs hunt by day, their golden coats blending with the sunlit grass. They rely on stealth and a sudden burst of speed, ending the hunt in a matter of seconds. Success or failure decided in the blink of an eye. The chase is a spectacle of agility and precision, the cheetah's body twisting and turning, closing the gap with every stride. But even at these speeds, a single misstep can mean the difference between a meal and another hungry day. As the sun dips below the horizon, the savanna's shadows come alive with the movement of spotted hyenas. Often misunderstood, these hunters are as cunning as they are powerful. Hyenas hunt in large, complex clans, their social bonds as strong as any pride of lions. They communicate with eerie whoops and cackles, coordinating their movements as they close in on their quarry. Their jaws are legendary, capable of crushing bone with ease. When a clan descends on a kill, the air fills with the sound of snapping bones and triumphant calls. Hyenas are endurance hunters, able to pursue prey for kilometers across the plains. They work together to isolate the weak or the weary, their relentless stamina wearing down even the strongest animals. When a wildebeest or zebra falters, the hyenas close in, their teamwork and persistence turning opportunity into survival. At night, their haunting calls echo across the savanna, a chilling reminder of the ever-present danger lurking in the darkness. The relationship between predator and prey is a delicate dance. The herds are ever watchful, their senses attuned to the slightest hint of danger. At the first sign, a rustle in the grass, a shadow on the wind, they bunch together, the strong shielding the weak, hooves thundering as they surge away from the threat. This constant pressure from predators keeps the herds moving, prevents overgrazing, and ensures the grasslands remain lush and vibrant. The balance is fragile, but it is this very tension that sustains the ecosystem. Predators focus on the old, the sick, the weak, and the very young, those least able to keep up with the relentless pace of migration. The herds, in turn, are shaped by this pressure, growing stronger and more vigilant with each passing season. Each hunt is a moment of natural selection, a test of strength, speed, and cunning. The outcome is often brutal, but it is this process that ensures only the fittest survive to pass on their genes. The survivors are the swiftest, the strongest, the most alert. They lead the herds onward, their legacy written in the next generation of calves and foals born on the open plains. In this vast, untamed wilderness, the hunters of the plains are not villains, but vital participants in the great and complex circle of life. Their presence ensures the savanna remains wild, balanced, and alive, a living testament to the power and beauty of nature's design. In the heart of the savanna, where danger lurks behind every blade of grass, the migrating herds face a gauntlet of predators. Yet, in this world of constant peril, survival is not left to chance. Instead, it is the result of a remarkable tapestry of behaviors, instincts, and alliances woven together by the animals themselves. Their greatest weapon is not tooth or claw, but the overwhelming force of their numbers. Thousands upon thousands of wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles move as one, forming a living, breathing shield that stretches across the plains. Each animal, from the smallest calf to the most seasoned adult, is a single thread in this vast fabric of life. Together they create a shifting wall of bodies, hooves, and horns, a barrier that confounds and deters even the most determined hunter. For a predator, the sight of a swirling, stampeding mass is both tantalizing and terrifying. The confusion of movement, the thunder of hooves, and the blinding clouds of dust make it nearly impossible to isolate a single target. Within the herd, individuals blend seamlessly into the crowd. Stripes and coats merge into a living camouflage, making it nearly impossible for a predator to pick out the weak or the young. The chaos of a stampede is a powerful defense. Dust fills the air, the ground trembles, and the cacophony of pounding hooves and alarm calls overwhelms the senses of any would-be attacker. In this maelstrom, even the sharpest-eyed predator can lose its quarry. This is the essence of safety in numbers, a principle that has shaped the very nature of the migration. The herd is not just a collection of animals, but a fortress, each member protected by the presence of its neighbors. Yet the herd's strength lies not only in its size, but in the diversity of its members. Each species brings its own unique talents to the alliance, creating a symphony of senses and skills. Zebras, with their keen eyesight, often take up positions at the herd's edge. Their striped coats shimmer in the sunlight as they scan the horizon, ever watchful for the flicker of movement that signals danger. Their ears twitch at the slightest sound, and their eyes, sharp as any eagle's, can spot a lurking predator from over a kilometre away. With a single glance, a zebra can detect the subtle shift of grass or the glint of an eye in the undergrowth, long before danger draws near. When a threat is spotted, the zebra's alarm call rings out, a sharp, barking cry that ripples through the herd like a shockwave. Instantly, heads snap up, bodies tense, and the entire group is on high alert, ready to react as one. But zebras are not just sentinels. When cornered, they become fierce defenders, lashing out with powerful kicks that can shatter bone and send even the bravest lion retreating. A single well-placed kick from a zebra's hind legs can break a predator's jaw, a warning to any attacker that the cost of a meal may be more than they bargained for. The wildebeest, sometimes underestimated for their awkward gait, are in fact formidable in their own right. Their energy and stamina are legendary, and their courage in the face of danger is unwavering. Each adult wildebeest is a powerhouse, weighing over 200 kilograms, with muscles honed by endless miles of migration. Both males and females are armed with sharp, curved horns, natural weapons that can reach up to 75 centimeters in length. When danger threatens, wildebeest lower their heads, presenting a wall of horns to any would-be attacker. Mothers shield their calves, and the herd closes ranks, forming an impenetrable barrier of muscle and bone. A cornered wildebeest is a force to be reckoned with, charging, kicking, and goring with a ferocity that can turn the tables on even the most fearsome predator. In moments of crisis, the males form a living shield at the front, horns lowered, eyes blazing, ready to defend the vulnerable members of the herd at any cost. The mingling of species creates a super herd, a coalition of senses and strengths. Zebras, wildebeest, and gazelles move together, each playing a vital role in the collective defense. The sharp eyes of the zebras, the keen ears and sensitive noses of the wildebeest, and the agility of the gazelles combine to form a network of vigilance that few predators can penetrate. In this alliance, every animal is both a guardian and a beneficiary. The herd stands united, each individual's safety bound to the fate of the group. The smaller gazelles, swift and nimble, find refuge among their larger companions, darting through the legs of wildebeest and zebras, using their bulk as a living shield. This cooperation, though unspoken and instinctive, is a masterpiece of natural strategy. Each species, by simply following its instincts, contributes to the safety of all. Together, they form a multi-layered defense, an ever-shifting fortress of vigilance, strength, and unity. It is this shield of many that allows the Great Migration to endure year after year against all the odds the wild can muster. After months of relentless travel, braving swollen rivers, parched earth, and the ever-present threat of predators, the herds at last arrive at their sanctuary, the lush emerald plains of the Masai Mara. Here the air is thick with the scent of fresh grass, and the land stretches endlessly, a living tapestry woven from the movement and presence of countless animals. For several months, from the first breath of July to the waning days of October, the herds feast upon the bounty brought forth by the nourishing rains. Each mouthful of grass is a victory, a testament to their endurance and the promise of renewal. This is a season of healing. The savanna, once a battleground of survival, becomes a haven of peace. Bodies weary from the journey are restored, and spirits are lifted by the gentle rhythm of grazing and rest. The animals regain their lost strength, muscles filling out, coats gleaming in the golden light. The herds move with renewed confidence, their unity a silent force that pulses across the plains. Calves and foals, survivors of the perilous trek, frolic in the safety of the grasslands. They learn the subtle language of the wild, how to read the wind, how to sense the distant thunder of hooves, how to find comfort in the closeness of the herd. In these tranquil days, the savanna breathes with contentment. The sun arcs slowly overhead, casting long shadows as the animals graze, their movements synchronized with the gentle sway of the grass. Yet beneath this calm, the savanna is ever-changing. Clouds gather and disperse, winds shift, and the land listens for the next signal in the eternal cycle. As the weeks pass, the once verdant grass begins to yellow, waterholes shrink, and the promise of abundance fades, echoing the changes that once drove the herds north. Then, on a distant breeze, the first hint of rain drifts from the south. The herds lift their heads, nostrils flaring, as the ancient call of the storm stirs deep within them. Far away, the short rains begin to fall upon the Serengeti, painting the plains with new life, and beckoning the herds to return. The signal is unmistakable. In the cool dawn, the herds gather, restless energy coursing through their ranks. The Great Migration must begin anew. Guided by instinct older than memory, the animals set out, moving as one vast, living river across the open land, drawn inexorably toward the place of their birth. The journey is not a straight line, but a circle, an endless pilgrimage that binds each generation to the next, a living thread woven through time. The path south is fraught with the same perils as before. Rivers must be crossed, rocky ground traversed, and the ever-watchful eyes of predators evaded. Each crossing is a test of courage and unity, as the herds face the jaws of crocodiles and the silent patience of lions hidden in the grass. Step by step, they retrace the ancient routes, their hooves stirring the dust of memories left by countless generations before them. At last, as December dawns, the southern Serengeti welcomes them home. The land, once barren, now bursts with vibrant grasses and the promise of new beginnings. The grass is thick and sweet, a banquet for the weary travellers. The plains fill once more with the sound of eager grazing, the air alive with the energy of renewal. The cycle of life continues. Females, heavy with new life, graze alongside the newborns, the next generation ready to take its place in the eternal dance. The Great Migration is more than a journey. It is the heartbeat of the land, a living pulse that sustains the web of life across the plains. It is a story of resilience and instinct, of silent cooperation, and the unspoken bonds that unite millions of creatures in a single, shared purpose. The animals and the land are inseparable, their destinies entwined by the rhythm of the rains and the promise of grass. Each hoofbeat, each breath, is a note in the symphony of the savanna. Year after year, this unbroken circle of life and death, of hardship and renewal, unfolds across the vast sunlit plains, a testament to the enduring power of nature's cycles. As the sun sets in a blaze of gold, the herds move onward, their silhouettes etched against the sky. The Unbroken Circle continues, a magnificent eternal story written by the wild for all time. As darkness falls over the endless plains, a new world awakens, one that thrives beneath the pale gaze of the moon. While the great herds rest, the savanna stirs with the silent footsteps and watchful eyes of nocturnal guardians. In this twilight realm, survival depends on senses sharpened by evolution and instincts honed through countless generations. The night belongs to the hunters and the hidden. Lions, masters of the dark, move with ghostly grace, their golden eyes reflecting the faintest glimmers of starlight. Their padded paws silence their approach, and their coordinated whispers ripple through the grass as they seek out the vulnerable on the fringes of the herd. But they are not alone. Hyenas, ever watchful and cunning, patrol the shadows. Their laughter pierces the stillness, a signal to their clan, and a warning to any who dare challenge their claim. With powerful jaws and unerring teamwork, they thrive in the uncertainty of the night, often outlasting and outsmarting even the most formidable rivals. Yet, the night is not ruled by predators alone. The vigilant eyes of zebras and wildebeest glimmer in the gloom, ever alert to the faintest rustle or snap of a twig. Their ears, attuned to the smallest sounds, twitch at the calls of distant owls or the rustling of a hunting serval. Together they form a living shield, sleeping in shifts, always leaving watchers at the herd's edge, ready to sound the alarm at the first hint of danger. Above, silent wings glide through the cool air. Owls, with their extraordinary vision and near-silent flight, hunt for rodents and insects that emerge after dusk. Their presence keeps the balance, ensuring the grasslands are not overrun by the smallest of creatures. Even the insects play their part. Fireflies blink in cryptic patterns, while crickets and cicadas fill the darkness with their chorus, a gentle hum that masks the movements of both hunter and hunted. In the shroud of night, every sense is heightened. Smell, hearing, and touch become guides in a landscape where sight alone is not enough. The herds and their nighttime neighbors have learned to adapt, to coexist in a world where danger and opportunity are often one and the same. As the first light of dawn brushes the horizon, the nocturnal world retreats, giving way once more to the sunlit drama of the migration. Yet, every night the dance resumes, an endless interplay of survival, adaptation, and resilience beneath the stars. In the Great Migration, the story of the night is as vital as that of the day. It is a time when the unseen become the keepers of balance, and the savanna's eternal symphony continues, played in a different key. As the sun rises, the savanna is transformed once more, not just by the light, but by forces far greater and older than any living creature. Weather and climate hold sway over the fate of every traveler in this ancient land, shaping the journey with their relentless power. The migration is a dance with the elements. Sometimes the sky darkens without warning. Thunder rumbles across the plains, and lightning forks through the clouds. The first heavy drops of rain strike the parched earth, releasing the scent of life itself. In moments, rivers swell, and the grasslands surge with green. The herds rejoice, calves leaping as if to catch the rain, their thirst quenched, their bellies filled with new shoots. But the rains do not always come. Drought is a silent adversary. The rivers shrink to ribbons, and the once lush pastures turn to dust. Dust devils spiral in the heat, and the air shimmers with mirages. The herds press onward, driven by memory and instinct, searching for water that grows ever scarcer. Weakness claims the vulnerable, and predators bide their time, knowing opportunity follows hardship. Storms bring both hope and peril. Flash floods can sweep away the unwary, while lightning ignites the dry grass, sending waves of fire racing across the plains. In these moments, the migration becomes a test of resilience, as animals must choose between danger and necessity, seeking shelter or braving the storm to reach distant, greener fields. Adaptation is the key to survival. Wildebeest and zebras travel by ancient routes, guided by the scent of rain on the wind. Elephants dig into dry riverbeds for hidden springs, their wisdom shared across generations. Birds take to the sky, soaring above the turmoil, scouting for oases where life still clings. Even the smallest creatures play their part. Termites build towering mounds to withstand the floods, while frogs burrow deep to wait out the dry season, emerging only when the rains return. Each species, in its own way, learns to bend but not break beneath the weight of the weather. Through storm and drought, fire and flood, the migration endures, an unbroken promise to the future, written in the language of adaptation. For on these ever-changing plains it is not the strongest who survive, but those who listen to the winds of change and move with them. The journey continues, shaped by every cloud and every sunbeam, as the great herds press onward, undaunted, unyielding, forever guided by the rhythm of the land. Beneath the thunder of hooves and the shadow of giants, a hidden world stirs. Here, in the shelter of grass blades and the cool earth below, the smallest inhabitants of the savanna orchestrate miracles of their own. For every wildebeest that journeys across the plains, countless insects and tiny creatures labor unseen, their efforts weaving the very fabric of life. Termites, the tireless engineers of the earth, rise before dawn to repair their towering mounds. Their underground cities channel rainwater, aerate the soil, and create fertile pockets where new grass can take root. As the herds graze and move on, they leave behind a patchwork of grazed and untouched land, perfect for beetles and ants to thrive. Dung beetles roll their precious cargo, recycling nutrients back into the ground, feeding the grass that will nourish next year's calves. In the undergrowth, armies of ants patrol invisible highways, defending their colonies and cleaning the savanna of fallen seeds and lifeless bodies. Their work keeps disease at bay and balances the delicate web of life. Grasshoppers leap from stalk to stalk, their voracious appetites kept in check by watchful spiders hiding in silken retreats. Even the buzzing flies, so often overlooked, pollinate wildflowers that dot the plains, ensuring the return of color after the rains. As night falls and the great herds rest, the world below comes alive. Crickets sing, their chorus rising with the stars. Moths flutter in search of nectar, while burrowing beetles and tiny frogs emerge to feast in the cool darkness. Each small creature, in its own way, shapes the land as surely as any lion or elephant. They are the silent architects, the keepers of balance, the unseen engines that drive renewal. Without them, the savanna would falter. With them, life endures, layer upon layer, from the tallest acacia to the humblest ant. In the great migration, every step is echoed by 1,000 tiny footprints, each one vital, each one a testament to the power of the unseen. In the endless tide of the migration, the youngest travelers face the journey's greatest tests. Calves barely days old, foals still unsteady on their legs, and newborn gazelles, each must find the strength to match the relentless pace of the herd. Every step is a lesson in survival. The sun scorches their backs, and the earth beneath is unforgiving. Rivers loom ahead deep and swift, their currents a daunting barrier for those who have never swum before. Predators watch from the shadows, eyes fixed on the vulnerable and the weak. A moment's stumble, a brief separation from mother or herd, and danger closes in. Yet even as fear stalks the plains, hope endures. The young learn to read the signals of the herd, the sudden stillness before a dash, the low call that means safety is near. Mothers guide with gentle nudges, shielding their young from harm, teaching them to run, to leap, to hide. Some fall behind, but many, against all odds, persevere. They find shelter in the heart of the herd, protected by a wall of bodies and the unity of thousands. When rivers must be crossed, the strong forge ahead, creating paths for the hesitant to follow. When storms break, mothers huddle close, sharing warmth and courage. Every sunrise brings new challenges, but also new triumphs, a calf's first successful river crossing, a foal's first day keeping pace with the herd. The smallest victories, hard won, are celebrated in quiet moments. An exhausted nuzzle, a triumphant leap, a gentle reunion in the tall grass. In the story of the migration, it is the courage of the young and the devotion of those who protect them that ensure the circle of life continues. For every survivor, the journey is not just a test of endurance, but a promise of future herds, of new beginnings, and of hope that runs as deep as the rivers they cross. As the seasons turn, the call to return echoes across the plains. The great herds, once driven north by the thirst for green, now sense a shift in the winds. Rains gather on the southern horizon, and the promise of rejuvenated grasslands beckons the travelers home. The journey southward is quieter, the frenzy of predators lessened, the young now seasoned by hardship and triumph. Hooves press into soil softened by recent storms. Shoots of emerald green break through the earth, a feast for the weary. Wildebeest, zebras and gazelles graze eagerly, their bodies replenished, their spirits lifted by the abundance. Behind them, the landscape stirs with new life. Where millions once thundered across barren ground, grasses now rise tall and lush. The rivers, once muddied and trampled, clear and slow, offering sanctuary to fish and amphibians. Birds return to nest in the undisturbed reeds, and insects swarm to pollinate the fresh blooms. Predators, too, adapt. Lions and hyenas, having followed the migration, settle into quieter rhythms, raising their cubs in peaceful glades. Scavengers feast on the remnants left behind, ensuring nothing goes to waste. Even the smallest creatures, dung beetles, termites and ants, play their part, breaking down and nourishing the soil for seasons to come. The scars of migration fade, replaced by a tapestry of life. The land once stripped bare is reborn, richer for the passage of the herds. Each return is a renewal, a testament to the resilience of both animal and earth. The cycle continues, unbroken, a promise that as long as the herds run, the plains will flourish. In this endless dance, every step matters, every return breathes hope into the heart of the grasslands, ensuring that life in all its wild beauty endures.